Okay. That's fine. And when I record, I do normally record on my computer, and it goes to my computer and know exactly where it is, and then I can distribute it. And I will give you the link to this recording, so you can go back and have a look at it should you wish. If I'm recording on my iPad, sometimes I can't find it, and it's just much easier to do it this way around. Right, okay, should we start with the homework? The easy one first.
I did sign a form to be able to.
So this was the cinema, and I'll do the easy one first on this one, so with 12 marks. What administrative control measures could be put in place at the waterfront cinema to help prevent a reoccurrence of the accident? You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. It's worth 12 marks. Hopefully you all did a plan.
Yeah.
This is task.
You sure?
Is this task 5?
Yeah.
Cinema. Because I will just copy it. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Mick was a brave one last night to put out. Was you, wasn't it?
It should be 45 minutes to pluck up the courage to send it.
Right, then were you scared of?
Well, I don't think I couldn't read it, I couldn't see it, so I can't see nothing, so I'll have to ask.
It's right, and that's what it's there for. And I'm glad that you've used it. So hopefully you've now kicked this off, that people feel happy using it. And I was really impressed with when I saw that Martin was typing, Martin was going to wait until he's finished typing to see to do it, and it was perfect. It was great.
Podiums.
Why do you take some jealousy there? You know, the green-eyed monster.
Yeah, I'm good at this way.
Yeah. He didn't
Not
reply.
responsibility.
Right, okay, administrative compliance. As soon as you see that and see the question, go back into your book and have a look and see what they say about administrative controls. It's on page 338, I think.
Yeah.
The annoying thing for me is your books are dated on the front of them. I bought a new set of books for the course last month, and mine are dated, well, for NG1, August 2023.
No,
And my NG2 one, I think, is May 2024. And then when the new set of books come out, what have you got? You have, you know, so I got
Newer ones than mine.
exactly. Which
Different
sometimes, the pages are slightly different. As they do the update. And I say, you know, these books are around about £50 a set. So, you know, I'm not going to buy a new set every single time. So I did for the last one because my books were like 2022. And I thought, okay, I should have waited a month, shouldn't I?
Do they often change?
Yes, too often. Okay. Administrative controls. So administrative things are usually around paperwork and things that should be put in place that deal with people doing things or following things or showing things. So I'll give you my 12, even though I think there was a couple of others on the WhatsApp group that were really good. So what would prevent a reoccurrence of the accident? So it's all about prevention. So I'm definitely going to do some induction. When new starters start, you're going to do a full induction. we're going to do regular health and safety training for all the staff, refresher review training, because some of them might have been there since Paul fell off the bus and have had no health and safety training at all, so you're going to give some health and safety training. You're going to set the supervision standard. So you're going to put some supervision in place and set the standard, especially when dealing with the young workers. We're going to ensure that all the safe systems of work have been written, safe systems of work have been written and communicated. You can put in there consulted with the workforce and written so that they are suitable and agreed by everybody. These sorts of words. You're also going to make sure that the risk assessments are up to date and are correct, not only for that task, but for all the tasks that are considered with significant risk.
Maura, would I as a point if I'm specific about risk assessments for working at height and training working at height?
I've got training for working at height, because the one's general training and the one's specific one. And you won't lose a point, you might get an AA about the risk assessments, because you would have to, the risk assessment for working at height, you get a mark. Reporting procedures for near misses. Would that help prevent an accident?
Yes, because you can identify weaknesses and address them before they occur.
Exactly, reporting procedures and make it so that people are encouraged to report near misses, so preventative measures can be put into place. Proper investigations of near misses and any incidents So one side is reporting, the other one is actually to do the investigation, to identify the immediate underlying and root causes, so you can put measures in place to stop it from happening again. Ensure that the policy, the health and safety policy, and all policies are up to date and communicated. Now, will it help prevent reoccurrence? No, probably not. But what it will do is show commitment by the senior team to show that they care about them. So therefore, you're more than likely to get compliance with this. Put in a system for ladder inspections.
Good maintenance plan, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but it says that could prevent a reoccurrence of the accident. So let's have specific to actually put ladder inspections in place. I think I've got maintenance as a separate one.
Regular checks equipment, stock coming to be done documented when equipment status.
Yes.
Before that, the use.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Before that, the
Yes,
checks.
yes, proper ladder inspections or equipment inspections. But it does say for this, for recurrence of the accident. So we've got to focus it around the particular accident. Edward?
You can take a ladder and put the regular ladder inspections.
Yes.
Sign off.
Yeah, regular ladder, yeah. My 10th one, no, it's more something else. You could have mentors for the young workers, so that they're not left alone at any time. I mean, you can put in no lone working, especially for them, but a mentoring system that you have to make sure that the person that mentors them has got the right attitude and culture that can assist them, guide them in the correct way. We're definitely going to do either working at height training or ladder training. You'll get the mark for either one. You won't get the mark for both. So proper working at height training, the proper use of ladder training should probably be the better one. My 12th one, so I've got some more specifics. My 12th one would be getting contractors to do the work. Use contractors. Get them to do the work. It's an administrative control. The other one that I've got down is part of the safe system of work, and you can mention them, would be to change the time of day that the activities take place.
Scheduling work, that's one of the nouns.
Yes, yeah. What else was, somebody else mentioned something that I didn't actually load my phone. Have a quick look, see what was on there.
I said, reviews company's process for bringing in consultants and checking competence.
Yes, yeah, let me just have a quick look and see what was said. Pendings. Oh, consultation with the workforce. Yeah.
Could that be regular health and safety meetings?
Yes, any form of that consultation with the workforce. Regular health and safety meetings, this type of thing. Timothy, you said?
Review company's process for bringing in consultants and checking competence.
Okay, it is an administrative one because it was the incorrect one, is to review the consultant process. We'll just put it down as consultant process. That's a good one because who actually got him in as a team leader? Yeah, have a system in place to ensure that any advice is actually correct and competent. Anything else? So I told you it was an easy question. Why is it stressing?
Because
I misunderstood the question.
Yeah,
Because it's saying to prevent a recurrence of the accident, so I thought about what should have been done, or what you should do to tell to communicate so that the accident doesn't happen again. And like so, I put retraining the manager and stuff like that into his obligations, retraining the supervisor into his obligations, maybe putting in permits to work.
spot on. You would never put in a permit to work for that.
Or for the young people.
For using a ladder, hanger banger, but definitely health and safety training, but you've probably got some AAs in there.
Yeah.
Barriers and signage for the task, task specific rather than.
Yes, you could have,
Stealer.
yeah,
We're gonna say that.
16, so it isn't as, so I'm gonna put barriers and signs. And it's the provision of barriers and signs, so they've got them to use to barrier off the area. Even if they're doing it out of hours, there are other people there as well. So yes, barriers and signs is a administrative measure.
Considering the safe system of work, it should document it that if you use working at height, there should be a specific safety person attached to that task.
So let's put in a no lone working for the use of the ladder. Same thing, good point.
Checks to ensure staff fit and well for tasks.
That's admin, there's just so many that you could use. 18, is you're gonna do, health reviews. As you say, I'm just shortening the words, to make sure that the people doing the task are suitable to do it, because he did say he's scared of heights. Anything else?
Introduce safety briefings every morning to discuss the tasks that involved in the
Yeah, safety briefings, toolbox talks.
You introduce safety rep.
You could, how big was the cinema again?
How big?
Yeah. I'm going to put it down, to appoint or, safety reps. But I think that when you've got this one around the consultation with the workforce, and then you give your examples such as putting in safety reps or have health and safety meetings or safety briefings, you might get an extra point, but only one of them will get, the other ones will be AA. But put them in.
Staff competencies in terms of knowing what your staff can and can't do.
Yeah.
Is that choice? So you get the right people to the task? Probably, yeah.
Is there a risk of AA if we're saying consult with the workforce with the safe systems at work, and then you've got another one for consultation with workforce?
I don't think so, because you should consult with the workforce on everything. So the one is specifically about the safe system work, and the other one is consulting generally about what else is going on there. I mean, we know there were issues with the floors and the paper and the overflowing bins and etc. I'm happy. I mean, we've got 20 points. If you put 20 points down, it's worth 12 marks, hence while my line is underneath there. Is this a happy, standing on the desk type of happy question from your administrative controls? All you've got down there is you've got down safe system of work, reduce exposure, information, instruction, training, supervision, which you could actually split up and science before you come on to PPE, business aid and administrative control. PPE is a behavioural control. James, are you okay? Would you have passed the question?
Just.
Okay. But now if it comes up something similar, you know everything that you could do with this.
Yeah, mate. My problem is I'm taking all these questions. Not literally.
Trying to stick to this.
Yeah, I'm trying to stick to one thing, you know, I'm not thinking.
When you go outside the box, it's going to keep going and going.
Yeah, I'm thinking if I go outside the box, I'm gonna waffle. That's what I'm thinking. So staying in is not.
Do you work in this office? Do you work with anybody that's here?
Oh yeah.
So you know you can actually allocate yourself half an hour of lunchtime to go through the questions or a question and have a discussion about what sort of things could be in there. Then if there's an issue, you could, please, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
Don't pick easy questions, yeah? Pick the ones that are going to cause you problems that you know. Don't look at a question and think, oh my God, look at this question, question 7, I've got no idea how to answer it. I'm just going to ignore it. Because actually it's worth 10 marks, 10% of your paper. Could mean the difference between a credit and a distinction. There is no negative. Let's have a look at this particular question that I'm sure I was very surprised there was no comments on this last night. on the blue. So we've all got it stuck.
Plenty, but we couldn't put them in the one.
You've got all the substance back.
You could say put stuff, but it'd still be wrong.
Not necessarily, okay, because the trick is how to answer. So I'm actually going to put the answer up on that board. Yep, task 7A. I could do the chair to stand on, couldn't I? Task.
Don't need to move around.
You might.
I got this one.
It doesn't matter, Jake, it really doesn't matter, because this is where you learn, and this is where you say, Moira, I love you so much because you're gonna sort all of this out for me before you exam, not on the day of the exam.
Yeah.
So thank God you're not doing this distance learning.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. You can do it distance online, yeah, distance learning, it's cheap, it's very cheap, you sign up, they send you the stuff and they leave you to it. It's cheap, but at the end of the day, if you don't pass, or you get despondent and demobilized, what's that gonna do to you? You know? Right. The ladder that the workers were expected to use puts them at significantly greater risk of injury. A good visual way of demonstrating and understanding this is to draw a risk matrix like the one below. Now, what I would do with this risk matrix, I haven't done it on this one, is I'd actually put the numbers in. There are no numbers in this. I would do the multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 2. Put 1, 2, 3 going up, 1, 2, 3 across, and then you've got 6, 4 and 6, and then you've got 6 and 9 on the 2 red boxes. Are you with me? Yeah. I would actually put the numbers in because you have to show your calculations. I would put them in. Why not? So it says here, assuming that you're teaching someone who has never seen this kind of risk matrix before, A, show how the matrix can be used to confirm that the risk level, likelihood and consequence, was not acceptable when the ladder was used for the banner hanging activity. Give 4 marks. So I'm going to put, I'm actually probably not, have I done them on my thing? Yes, I have. I've got more than 1. So what? You've got to show, you've got to use evidence, show your calculations and support the calculations where applicable using information from the scenario. I'm going to use my evidence to start off with, and then I'm going to do my numbers. So I've said the ladder is unstable. So the ladder is unstable. And my evidence that it is unstable, it doesn't open out fully. Doesn't open fully. And has a wedge to stabilize it. A wedge to stabilize. Yeah, which is unsuitable. So, the worker has been coerced to do the job, even though he said he's scared of heights. So you've got the wrong person using the ladder. Yeah. The wrong person using the ladder. He's scared of heights. So already he's going to be unstable. Therefore, the likelihood that they could fall is highly likely, or very likely, is risk rating number 3, is you've got to use very likely, likely, or very likely. So therefore, my old-fashioned one is Therefore, the likelihood that he could form or they could form is very likely which corresponds to 3 on the matrix for likelihood.
Number 2, I haven't gone down the route of scared of heights, I've gone down the fact that someone has fallen before.
Yes,
Did that go?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, any of those will actually work. You're scared of heights, someone has fallen before on the ladder, but did they, it wasn't with you. Okay, it was unstable. That's fine. So let's use that one as well. Scared of heights or previous incident. Therefore, the likelihood that they could fall is very likely 3 because it's happened before and the ladder is unstable. 4 goes to my consequences, my 4th mark. If they fall from the ladder, and we know it's quite high, if they fall, then the usual injuries, okay, and the usual injuries from falls from height are major, such as broken bones, and head injuries, or even death. And you can justify it that around 30% of falls from height from less than 2 meters results in a fatality. You can mention that, but it is common for it to happen. Sorry, what's this again? It's 30% of falls from height that cause a fatality are from less than 2 meters. If you then, that is on average. If you're going to quote that, don't forget the references at the bottom. Just go and find the correct number. Or you can say that it is a well-known fact that even falls from not very high cause fatalities if you haven't got time and you don't want to. So, therefore, the death is my 5th point on this one, which is but major injuries, broken bones, which is riddle reportable equals 3 because we said it's a major injury. So now let's do the maths on this one. You're explaining to somebody, okay, the likelihood is equal to 3. The severity, use the word severity. Yes, the severity is equal to 3. If you multiply, or it is a multiply, 3 by 3 equals 9, and on the matrix, it's showing as the risk is high.
Or is this question more about the process rather than the actual numbers? Because I suspect it's likely rather than very likely. Are they looking for the?
But yeah, if you get likely as opposed to very likely, it's happened before. The ladder is unstable, it's going to happen. When you get it, you'll get it in colour. You could also say anything that sits in the red is an activity that should not take place. If you want to add the extra.
I mean, it came up with a red score then, but it was, I got 6 as opposed to 9. So.
You would lose a mark.
Because they're looking for 9.
They're looking for a 9 for you to understand that this is a 9. Therefore, the risk is high in the red and the activity should not take place.
More, I said, not that the activity should not take place unless more controls are in place.
are put in place, which is what we're going to do with B. As it stands,
Mm.
this should
Yeah.
not take place. I'm sorry. Yeah. I will take photographs. Do you all understand that? Do you understand?
I found this bit easier than that one,
Okay.
because this one's more about facts, that things have actually happened, rather than that being a bit subjective into your perception of the way things should be.
Did you get the numbers in? Correct. Did you get the justification in answer to why you are going to use that one, and then how it, the activity, the risk level is then high?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, what is this way, but I've got-
Yeah, done it similar. Let's do the other one. So big, so this is past 7 minutes. Loans are tall people, yeah? It's worth 6 marks. 6 marks. Okay, so we've got 4. I'd reckon we get 2 marks for that. I've seen this matrix on several pages, but they do a similar sort of thing to this. So it says, show how the matrix can be used to confirm that the risk level of the banner hanging activity is acceptable if a different form of access equipment, such as mobile scaffolding, was used. Show your calculations and support the calculations where applicable using information from the scenario. Now the thing there is, and it tells you is, they've got to show that it is acceptable. So you know it's not going to be green, do you? You're not going to get it into the green, and this is the reason why. So 1, I actually haven't numbered these ones. For this one, because I think you get different points for this one. So if they use mobile scaffolding, I'm just going to call it a MUP, even though it isn't MUP, mobile elevated work platform, but they're talking about mobile scaffolding to hang the banner, and I've written this, and it's erected by a competent person. So a competent person puts the mobile scaffolding up, and a competent person uses it. So you're using a competent person erects it, the competent person uses it, i.e. not the young worker, and they've had training on its use, then the likelihood of falling would be very unlikely. So the likelihood would be very unlikely because it's stable, it's secure, and the right person is using it. Therefore, that risk rating is 1. Highly unlikely to fall. And this is what they're looking for, that you understand. But if they should fall, the severity remains the same. Now, when you're using mobile scaffolding, do people wear harnesses? No, that's why they've actually used it. You wouldn't use a harness for it because of the way that it's actually. Have you ever seen mobile scaffolding? We'll do it in a couple of weeks' time. And you can say that mobile scaffolding, harnesses are not normally used to mitigate the fall. So therefore, if they fall, the consequences, the severity remains the same because they're still falling to the ground and will be riddle reportable. And you have one more. Yeah, and it still remains riddle reportable. You can mention back in if you want about that nothing changes, it's still broken bones, head injuries and potential of death. Then looking that you understand can't reduce the severity.
So if you do put saying that if you would use harness or crash mat or things that it would, and then bring it down, they would not give them up.
Not at that point, because they're asking for you to say that if you use that scaffolding, show how the risk rate, so it is acceptable. We can add some other things about that one, because I think I've got it down as well. Yes, I've got other things down as well, which I then justify how I could then bring it down further. But let's just work with this one first.
Because they specifically put in the such as a mobile scaffolding, that's what should be.
Yes.
Not, as it say.
You can't, yeah, that's what they're actually asking. But the severity remains the same, it's riddle reportable, broken bones, head injuries, potential for death. Therefore, the severity still is 3. Once again, and you said if you multiply the likelihood by the severity, which is likelihood has now become 1 by 3, you get 3, and on the matrix it is then medium risk, which is acceptable. And I would go on because I've actually got it down for this one, that the activity will be acceptable, and I'll just put it in. You could reduce the risk. And I'm going to put down here the severity, actually both, and the severity by using crash mats, crash bags, which would break the fall or reduce the consequences of the fall. I would also say here, if the area was barried off, even though they haven't asked for it, I would put it in, was barried off and done outside opening hours. I put here before the cinema opens its doors and only trained people carry out the task, it is acceptable. Would you put crash bags? How long does it take? Sorry? You probably wouldn't, because you've got to look at the risk, the likelihood and consequences against the cost.
You'd be cheating to get a contract with this.
It is, you know, so whether or not you would actually put it, I don't know. Even if you just said, if the area is barren out, done an outside the opening hours, when there is less chance of a collision, then this becomes even less of a risk. And it's around likelihood, isn't it? More than anything else.
You could put on your the top one into the view or in the platform, but it's competent person who actually used it. You can also say it's tailor-made and can include handrails and rails to prevent falling, and that would boost your likelihood of agreement.
Yeah, and the likelihood of them. What they're looking for in this question is that you understand how to reduce risk, and that very often you can only reduce the likelihood, not the consequences. You happy with this question? Good. Yeah? Not going to say that you would lose one, but this is the sort of thing that you put in to reduce the likelihood.
It's the amplification around it is the skill, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the bare bones, that's why I couldn't see how you get 6.7. The bare bones is exactly the same, it's 4.3, isn't it? It's the 4 steps again.
It is,
It's the
it is
amplification.
for that, but they want to know your calculations. If you don't put in the calculations and work out the multiplication and then refer it to the matrix, you won't get the marks. And you can only use a matrix that they give you. Who knows? Maybe they're going to give you a 5 by 5 the next time. I don't know. I don't know. Let me take some photographs, looking at some, put them out on the group. You never know, maybe,
Yeah, I was just looking at the before, and it's cost of living and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I don't, one of the things like, yeah. Good.
That'll be all right.
Like.
All over the next 3 hours.
It's still collaboration.
okay.
Yeah.
What we're going to do now is we're going to complete both papers together. We're going to look at the questions we haven't looked at. And discuss the answers that they are looking at. She might work with the book. She never knows. I don't know when each one, isn't it? Have you got somebody?
Okay, let's come here.
Probably not bad in that. Should have been a doctor.
Limiting rolling.
What time are you organising to go about?
Whatever time, so any time between now and whenever it's released. Okay, we're waiting for that. You need a holiday, that's should be a holiday. Not my kind, but don't do it before the open book exam. Don't drink.
Oh, and definitely don't drink. Oh, very relaxed, we must drink.
You even get that from alcohol free.
Yes. But being hydrated is fine.
You didn't go up, go happy.
You gotta admit, it has been entertaining this week, hasn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you've got a choice, you have to say it. Okay, so, we are going to go, sorry, I never watched them back ever, so, still sticking with the cinema, we haven't done task one, so let's have a look. The task one is emergency response. Now, it says here, based on the scenario only, so you can only base it on what was in the scenario. Comment on how you, as a health and safety advisor, effectively manage the emergency. Now, generally when they say, oh, that's so good, I can't have one because I'm here. Please say the wrong
You
thing.
could, we could have a laugh.
Two and take time to save it.
Please make sure you say the right one. Right, and when the question says comment, they're generally looking for it to be a critical analysis. So you've got to look at, when it says you, because don't forget you are the health and safety advisor, what were the things that you or the health and safety advisor did right? Was there anything that was not right, that could have been done better or was incorrect? It's worth 8 marks. Effectively managed an emergency. So we've got some really good things to start off with, such as you responded immediately. You didn't wait. So there was an immediate response. And you can divide your answers up into effectively managed, and then you can put ones underneath where you reckon that improvements could be made or things that weren't quite right, because it's just a comment. So you immediately responded to the incident, just basic things from this one. You asked the bystanders to stand back so that they gave you space.
Would you say first though, because he takes charge of the situation?
Yes, you could. It doesn't have to be in order, but definitely if you want to. So immediate response, took charge of the situation, didn't wait. They asked the bystanders to stand back. What is it something that maybe they should have done? It's a good thing, stand back and give people space. I mean, they do. I've got this one down. But what maybe should he have done? Should they have done with the bystanders?
That's one to call them off
Ask them
first.
to leave.
Control.
Make sure they're okay.
Yes.
Shock, maybe.
Maybe possibly he should have asked.
Any first aid is fine, but
I think he did ask for that any first aiders. Did he ask?
No,
No.
he said you are the only first aid.
Oh, so you are the only first aiders. These bystanders are standing around watching. Could you have asked them to go and sit and wait for you in the cinema in one of the other yeah, you could have done it. It's just comment on. So definitely you ask the bystanders to stand back is really good to give you space, but you could also say that actually should they have been around watching? Just a thought. You do carry out first aid. This one has been knocked out.
Yeah, unconscious for a few minutes.
It has, yeah.
Was it? You're getting mixed up now.
Yeah,
The remains of the game.
Yes, okay, so, you ask the bystanders to get that, you carry out first aid. However, you are certified first aiders, you ask one of the nearby workers. You take charge of the situation, as the bystanders to stand back to give you some room. You seek the assistance of the cinema manager or team leader, told that both of them are on duty and walked out of the cinema just after the incident.
Would seek assistance? No.
You could have, yeah, you do ask to seek assistance. But is that the right thing to do first, if you are the trained first aid, or should you deal with the injured person first?
Yeah, no, you deal with yourself.
So make sure it's
First,
correct.
so you
Yeah.
need to seek assistance.
Yeah, it's safe first before you go. Suppose you could see when they would bring up bystanders everywhere.
That he has checked, he's seen that the ladder's on its.
On its side, yeah. It's not like the guy's fallen through a ceiling or anything like that. He's done that immediate assessment. And then he's asked for assistance before he has dealt
Yeah.
with the injured person. And I would have an issue with that. If you were a trained first aider, you would deal with the injured person first, once the area has been made safe. Because the next step after that is to speak to the person. So you could make a comment on it. You say what things are good things that really, really did, but maybe he should have done this first. So definitely carried out first aid. And then you ask somebody to go out for the first aid box so that you can remain with that person while you wait for the first aid box to arrive. We know it's useless, but you don't know that at the time.
That's wrong.
Pardon?
Should have that's the contact emergencies.
Well, he does. While you wait, you examine the injured worker and note that they are breathing and have an abrasion on their right arm. You also call the emergency services. So that is good. You know, you're checking to make sure they're okay, and then you call the emergency services. You check for breathing to make sure they are breathing, because if they're not breathing, that could be something obstructing airways, and you make them as comfortable as possible without moving them. Just as they make them as comfortable as possible.
And reassured them when they came back to.
Well, yes, they did. So you keep them calm. They've
Yeah.
reassured them that, you know, you're looking after them, and you keep them calm to stop them from panicking. And you tell them the ambulance is on the way. You ask another worker to clear the entrance hall and to close the cinema. That's really, really, I've got two things down for that one, but really, really good, because you don't want other people coming in. And you want the entrance to be cleared so that the emergency services can get in without having to fight their way through all these gawking bystanders. Members of the public are directed to exit the building using the fire exits in each auditorium. Good or bad? I think it's good, because you're not sending them out the front where the ambulance is going to arrive. Are you able to keep members of the public back as witnesses?
I'll take their details, can't you?
You can
You
ask.
could take their details.
Unfortunately,
You can't force them. You can ask, maybe this is what should have been done while you're waiting, ask if any of the members of the public saw the incident, and please will they leave their details with whatever the nominated person is. So he didn't ask for that, and maybe he should have done, so that he can contact them later on. Because the members of the public, they're not going to collude with each other, are they? Because they've got no vested interest in this. So perhaps something that they should have done is ask anybody who saw and take details. The ambulance arrives and the paramedic provide treatment before taking the injured worker to hospital. Then you later find out what their injuries are, which is fine.
trying to get hold of the management, cinema manager.
He does, so he takes statements from the witnesses. So you speak to the workers Yeah, who are in a state of shock, allowing them to go home if they want to. However, before they leave, you ask them to write down anything they can remember about the accident because it will help you investigate it. So you can say he takes statements, he asks for written evidence before he sends them home. And we discussed yesterday, would you send them home?
And you can look after their welfare, what's best for their welfare. So if they're in a state of shock, you wouldn't just send them on their merry way.
Because they could be driving on bicycles, you don't actually know. Do you think that maybe you should have popped all of those people in separate areas and assessed them when you finished dealing with this? Would that be a better thing
Yeah.
to do?
I'd say, hang on,
Yeah.
then once it all calmed down, you follow up with it.
Which would be something which would be better. So you're commenting on what you did right and what could have been done better, what you missed at that particular moment in time. So you try to call the cinema manager, so you do, that's quite correct, but they do not answer. After multiple attempts, you decide to leave a voice message, and then you speak to the workers who are in a state of shock. Should you have dealt with the workers first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So maybe that's something that needs to be in there as well. You know the cinema manager has gone home. You seek the assistance of the cinema manager or a team leader, but you're told that both the manager and the team leader on duty walked out of the cinema just after the accident. So you know you're not going to get hold of them. You need to deal with the people who are there. Would you then leave a message for the cinema manager?
Just so that you don't get into.
Let those police all the way around.
It should be there.
Yeah, he should be there, but it's not there. He has walked out. Yeah. So I don't know whether he tries again and again, and then he leaves a message. He doesn't actually say what he said in the message. So I think you could use it as either. Would you leave a message? Actually, we try to get hold of you. This is your responsibility. Come back. Doesn't have to deal with it. It was worth 8 marks. I got 13 down. You probably got more than 13. Would we be okay with a question like this? And you based it only on the scenario, saying what had happened. And we've said what was good and what wasn't good. The question does tend to be a little bit ambiguous. Based on the scenario, and you comment how you as a health and safety advisor effectively manage the emergency. Yeah. Okay. We're okay with that question? Yeah. If it comes up, or something similar, we're jumping up and down on the desk. Brilliant. Next one. Task 2, we've done nothing. We haven't done any questions around culture. Sorry, Paul. No, did you? Yeah.
Just that, he missed a couple of points out when we just going through one thing.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Because some of them might put together, some of them might have separated out. It's worth 8 marks. I have 13 down now, 14 down. You've probably got close to 20. I didn't give you any of the culture questions because on both papers there are high numbers of marks. And I would rather give you 2 different questions than one question with a high number of marks. So it says, what are the indicators of a negative health and safety culture at the riverfront cinema? You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. It's worth 25% of your marks. A high number should you get it done. So let's actually, actually have a look. I've just got only negatives. Did you put positives in?
No, no, if you get it wrong, it's supposed to be positive, it's a lot.
Okay, I got 32.
Well, we haven't even looked at it.
You know? When we actually have a look at it, I mean, I like this stuff. They just, it says, what are the indicators of a negative health and safety culture? So first of all, you can only do negative. You can't say there should have been this, there should have been that, should have never. We're not interested in this. It's a what question. You probably can't put a huge amount of explanation in with this. But if you can get any in, besides the fact that this shows a negative culture, this shows a negative culture, this shows a, don't even waste your time by repeating the question. Floors are dirty, dirty floors.
Okay, the windows and
And yeah, dirty floors, I've got dirty rooms, I think, somewhere.
You actually break it down to that level, each specific point, not
Yeah.
housekeeping is poor.
You get point
You
for
get,
each.
you get-
You could put housekeeping is poor, but then you would have to, specify, what the issue is, because they've got loads of things around housekeeping, haven't you? So, the floors are dirty, the bins are overflowing, the tickets are left lying around.
Would you get another point for pointing out that the tickets are over a week old and therefore you could infer?
Yes, that the place hasn't been cleaned.
Yeah.
Remember that culture is shared values and beliefs by everybody within there.
is
So
that one
nobody's been, sorry,
Would that be 1 mark or 3?
I've actually put this down as 3, which shows that nobody cares within the organisation that the place looks like a tip. The worker ignores you because he's talking on the phone. And he's rude to you, which tells you what?
poor attitude.
A poor attitude, and also that nobody stopped him and he gets away with it.
Yeah.
That this happens on a regular basis because you have.
Major.
I don't know, I think it's culture.
That's fair.
We've got a few that are a lot older than teenagers that do things like that.
And you actually get lots of teenagers that will go and do a job like that. They're just amazing. They're
Yeah.
just really, really helpful and kind and understand this well. So he's rude to you. He's talking on the phone. He's got away with it, which shows that there's no policies in place to deal with this. Possibly. So I've got loads. So somewhere along the line, I'm going to get you 25 marks. Remember we spoke about PEE, making the point, evidence it, and then explain it. So this is where potentially you can get 2 marks for this one. I've got things around the manager. I've got 3 things around the manager. So the manager answers the door with go away, so he's rude. I've got he's lounging behind his desk. He's got his feet up on the desk, hasn't he? And he's smoking. This was January 2023, smoking being banned for many years by this time. The manager is the one who is in charge and the culture filters from him. So it's what's acceptable for him. He leads by example, so the rest of the workforce also have this don't care attitude. come back to my number 9. I still want to talk about the manager. The manager knows about the visit. It tells you in the scenario, the cinema manager has been told to expect you, so he knows that you're coming, but has done no preparation for the visits. He mutters under his breath about burden and bureaucracy. Notice he does it under his breath.
So he knows it's wrong.
He knows, yeah, he knows that it's wrong, but he's just, the attitude is poor.
Yeah, it influences the team.
It does influence the team. That's why the other guys are on the phone and being rude as well, because you can see that the
Probably
manager
learnt
gets
it.
away with it really from the manager. You ask for somewhere space to work, which you are fully entitled to do so, and there isn't any. So nothing has been prepared for your visits. And then you are, so there's no space to work in. Is it the current break room or the canteen?
Very good.
Break room.
Yeah, and you work in the break room, but the break room is dirty. You have to clear up the space, is what it says. There is so many things. If you use a table in the small break room used by the office. You go to the break room, find a quiet corner away from your dirty dishes and palm on work surfaces above the dishwasher. Now it's interesting, there is a dishwasher. But nobody packs it. And you can infer from this, they're lazy, but they actually don't see it as being their job or their problem, that somebody else will do it. You know, the attitude of it's not my job, it's not my responsibility. Somebody else will do it. Hence, the dishes stack up, they're dirty, they're also a hygiene issue as well. Even though there is a dishwasher, nobody can be bothered to stack their own dirty dishes in the dishwasher. The manager finds the health and safety file, he finds it. That word, he finds it, tells you he doesn't know where it is. It takes him an hour to find it, and drops a single thick file of documents onto the table you're working on. They found the file on a shelf in their office, having forgotten that it was there. So has this been at the forefront of his duties?
No.
No. So he's not interested. And it also shows if he didn't know it was there, has he communicated any of it to the workforce? Can you infer that he probably hasn't read it?
Wow.
You can infer that he hasn't read it because he's got a different, that's a risk assessment.
But you have to find it. Someone he's read it. Well, hasn't read it recently.
The health and safety policies dated 2018, and the risk assessment has a different name in it. No, he hasn't read it. Has he signed it? But it's out of date. No, it's 5 years out of date, the health and safety policy.
This has been bought by a different company.
to 10, it's 2018, it's now January 23. You know, safety policy isn't correct.
But even if they've just bought it, you would expect to find a health and safety policy that has the right date on it. It should have had at least 2017 to 2022, 2023 on it. He also says that he won't allow you to interview the workers because there is no time. Oh, this is all backup that has been no information. And also, why does he not want you to interview the workers? What can you infer from this? Yes, yeah, he doesn't want, he's scared that they're going to talk and say things about him, about the cinema, that he does not want you to hear. So he says to you, yeah, you inform the manager at some stage you need to interview them as well as some of the workers. The manager replies that they doubt that they will have time for this and then leaves the room. These are all negative culture things.
The safety policy being out of date and the risk assessment being employed, they're two different points, aren't they?
Yes, out of date policy, out of date risk assessment. Another one, there's only one risk assessment. And there's a different name and address on the risk assessment that shows you that in actual fact it's just been downloaded or pinched from somewhere and it hasn't been signed, it hasn't been checked, and it's not suitable for that particular cinema. There are no first aiders. Why are there no first aiders?
They don't have the same kind of rules.
Well, they don't do any health and safety training, there are no first aiders. Because the manager knows it will take time away from their duties and that will cost money and he's not interested. There is a blame culture. And I've skipped on this one. You ask the witness why the threat of being reported to the manager would have made the young worker change their mind about using the step ladder. Witness tells you the cinema manager's reputation of dismissing workers from their jobs for the most trivial things. So there's a blame culture in place. It's trivial. The equipment that is being used is not fit for purpose.
Lack of supervision.
I've got a lack of supervision. There's no health and safety training in place. They're using young workers without giving them the assistance that they need. Because he asked for help and they said no. There wasn't anybody else to help them. Threats of dismissal. They'd employed the services of an incompetent health and safety advisor. Let me just give you the difference between competent, not competent, and competent. Three very different things. Somebody's competent, the right skills, training, knowledge, experience, etc., carry out the job safely. The young worker was not competent. He hadn't had the skills or the knowledge to carry out the job safely, and he knew it, and he'd asked for help. The fact that he did it is another situation altogether. So if you haven't got the skills to do it, you don't carry it out, you ask for training, help, supervision. the health and safety consultant was incompetent. He had the skills, knowledge and training, or he should have done. He knew what should have been in place, but he still allowed or gave the incorrect advice and allowed it to happen. That is incompetent. So if somebody doesn't know how to do something, don't say they're incompetent. Work out, are they just not competent and they need the competencies supplied or given to them. Somebody who's fooling around, I did some work in a garage once and at night shift, but I wasn't there. I'd heard that, you know, the guys were setting up all the tyres around, and on their little forklift trucks, whatever they were doing, they were fooling around, racing those forklift trucks. They're competent to drive forklift trucks, but they are incompetent because what they were doing was wrong, and they knew it was wrong. They couldn't do it during the day, they did it at night. They just missed the fact that there was CCTV. No resources are allocated for work to be done safely, because we know that the first aid box had nothing in it. As one of your potential ones for this one. There was no resources potentially for cleaning, and resources is time as well as money. You can ask the young workers to do it, but you've got to pay them or give them the time to do it. So maybe the cinema manager was employing them from the time that the cinema opened to the time that the cinema closed, and give them a chance to do all the other jobs that needs to be doing outside those hours. No investigations take place. There'd been an incident beforehand and nobody had done anything about it. Manager walks off site when the accident occurs, so does the other guy as well. The team leader. Lack of commitment.
Leadership.
Lack of accountability, lack of leadership. There's not enough staff to help out, be it the cleaning or to help him with the ladder, which we know is wrong.
No maintenance, emergency equipment procedure.
No maintenance, poor communication, lack of inductions, no safe systems of work in place, i.e. the ladder was not found enough. At the wrong time of day. You get overlap between the questions, but you can't repeat the same thing in the same question. Sometimes the same thing applies to two different questions. So you just got to go through and see what shows you lack of culture. And if you go back to your books and have a look around culture, positive culture and negative culture, and have a look at that. We look at with loads of things. You've got accidents, sickness rates, absenteeism. We don't know about absenteeism. We do know that staff turnover is high because they fire them all the time for not doing what they want, and that nobody complies with their with the safety rules. There is complaints about the working conditions and the influence of peers. Those are your indications of health and safety culture. This is why each question, go back to the relevant one in your book. Have a look and see what it says, and see if there is anything more that can actually help you. $25 more. Good. Including the device. We did task 3 health and safety management systems. Did you do? You did?
Not that's
The 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Right, so we're going to do the health and safety management system. You're right, we do. I agree with you guys. Health and safety management systems awareness and communication. For waterfront cinemas, health and safety management system to be effective, its requirements and relevant outputs need to be communicated to the cinema's workers. Using evidence from the scenario to show waterfront cinema has most likely failed to effectively communicate requirements and outputs of the health and safety management system to its workers at 15 marks. It's another high mark question. So the health and safety policy is not displayed. It's there, but it's not communicated because it is stuck in a file somewhere on a shelf. So nobody knows about it. Sorry? It is it's out of date. The question's asking how they've most likely failed to effectively communicate the actual requirements. It's all about and the outputs of the health and safety management system. No investigations take place. So therefore there is no corrective actions. There's no proper risk assessments. And you've got no safe systems of work, so nobody knows how to do the job safely or what's expected of them. There's no resources allocated. And resources is time, inconvenience, money, and effort. So people don't have the time to do the jobs, the time to help each other, the time to clean. There's no proper equipment in place. The employees are not competent because they've had no training. So they don't know what to do. There are no inspections in place to keep the place tidy and to highlight any unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. They're just left to, which one was it? No inspections. Inspections highlight unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. There is no allocated roles and responsibilities. From the actual scenario, the cinema manager and the team leader walk out, when in actual fact, part of their responsibilities is to stay there. Part of the roles of the team leader is to supervise, but he doesn't know this. Why does he walk out? He follows the cinema manager because that's what they think they should do. So there's no roles and responsibilities communicated either verbally or documented. There's no KPI set for health and safety. There are no aims and objectives are set, so you can't got nothing to measure against. That's your outputs. There's no first aid training, so nobody knows what to do in an emergency. It just so happens that you are there and you do know. The first aid box is incomplete because nobody's been allocated to monitor it and given the responsibility to replenish it or keep track of it. there's no reporting procedures in place. And we know this because nothing is reported, because they're scared. You can also infer on this that there's no performance review. That there's no continual improvement going on. It just gets left. Anything else we could use for how they failed to effectively communicate? It's all negative stuff. How many got it? 15. Okay.
No policy on like mobile phone.
Yeah, no policies in place. Around use of mobile phones, let's put them in. Why are there no policies?
Those receptions, the person at the front of the scene.
And they just do as they want because there's nothing in place and nobody's been told about it. And there's no discipline either, is there? So there's no accountability for actions. Because there's nothing in place to tell them about the accountability.
Is that fair?
Yes, we can infer that.
Even if there's no emergency procedures, because they're just going around looking like that person on the floor.
There's no emergency procedures. I understand this. Oh, Paul, you can have the pencil. Well done. I've got no reporting, but no emergency. You're right. Thank you. But nobody knows what to do in an emergency. Add it onto my list. How did I have missed it? I'm not stressed. I'm happy I'm going today. But I did
Diamonds.
today.
Flowers.
Flowers, chocolates, and diamonds. How lovely. Yeah. Take notes, gentlemen. Right, we've done task 4. We've done task 5. We've done task.
Six past.
All passed.
Right, okay, that's the cinema. Let's do the other one before we can break. Take a break, we're done. Yeah, exactly.
That's the road.
We can do that to the robot, like 8 or 10, how much work to get with as to what we actually do. Right, can we go on to the robotic arm one? We did question 1. Yeah, I have to go back and have a look. Question 1, we did the financial impacts. We did question 2, the policy review. We didn't do task 3, did we? Comment and limited. Comment on the positive approach to managing home workers' risks by the car manufacturing organisation. Your answers must be based on the scenario. Only it's worth 9 marks. I have 11 actually. First of all, they give them the option. They don't tell them they have to go home. They give them the option. But they decide some of the administrative workers who use mobility aids will be working from home during the construction work. They give them the option.
So which means they've had consultations there.
They've had consultation, so they give them the option. There is, yeah, I've got them there, they've given them the option. I can use a PEE for this one by allowing those with mobility issues or encouraging those with mobility issues to work from home. There is a policy in place. So they've got a policy in place. And that the policy, even though it was 18 months ago, not being used for the last 18 months, as all the workers prefer to revert back to the home office, you review the policy. You send out a questionnaire to the affected workers and the team leaders to confirm that they're familiar with the working from home guidance. So you're not assuming, oh, they've done it before 18 months ago. They'll know. You send out a questionnaire. Do you understand these things should be in place, etc. It is. They do new DSEs. We display screen equipment workstations to conduct a new one. Because maybe some of them have moved house. Maybe some of them have got new mobility issues. Maybe something has changed in the 18 months in their home working environment. So you want to check to make sure that it is still suitable for them to work from home. You review the working from home risk assessment. You have a meeting or you have a discussion with the team leader about how they are going to manage the workers who are working from home to ensure their mental and physical well-being. There are one-to-one meetings. In other words, individual meetings with one-to-one meetings, actually saying how often, regular one-to-one meetings. So that if anybody has an individual issue, it stays just between the team leader, is it the team leader? The team leader and the person, and that can be dealt with on an individual basis. There are also twice weekly team meetings, so that people still get to talk to one another and that they can have group discussions around about, if I remember, where they can discuss work updates and non-related work topics, non-work related topics. Because here at the break times, what do? We talk about flowers, chocolates, diamonds, not work related. We talk about your garden, we talk about James's son, we talk about the house moving, we talk about your daughter, we talk about Edmund's holiday, we talk about sweet little Ivy. Not much from Chris. Very quiet. And we do know that if Paul does any work this weekend from home, he'll be in the shed.
That's right.
Yeah. And we also know that Darryl does not like his teenage children. These are a lot of work. Only one.
One teenager.
And these are non-work related things that keep. What's that mean?
I'm trying to think of profile I mentioned.
That's unusual.
We don't actually know anything really about your outside work, do we?
No.
You would your Chris would your hair. But do you see, and this is what keeps everybody going, it's the mental well-being, isn't it? And if you're working from home, those of you that worked from home during those times, it was quite difficult juggling everything that had to be done at that time. So this is a really good thing to put in place twice a week, the team meetings to talk about all things. And also that the team leader will check on them besides the one-to-one meetings. It was worth knowing, Mark, I've got 11, and also they double check that they all have the correct IT.
You also have experience in it,
Yes.
prior knowledge and experience. Prior knowledge and experience.
Oh, yeah.
When they did the pandemic.
Yeah, the administrative workers have the same work laptop computers that they used during the pandemic. So new IT equipment is not required. So they've done the checks, they've monitored it.
And this regulation of the policy, not just that policy in place,
They recirculate the policy so that people are, their memories are refreshed. We didn't do task 4, did we? A and B, almost high mark question. Accident investigation, task 4A, what action should be taken to collect evidence for the production line accident investigations? Worth 33 marks. I just want to double check. So the production line. To view the new robotic arms, because there was 2 accidents. The accident. So, what action should be taken to collect evidence for the production line accident investigation? You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. Let's do the obvious one first. We're going to secure the area, stop anybody else from going in and out. Make sure it's safe for you to go in and close the area off so that you've got evidence for your investigation. Separate out the witnesses so that they don't collude with one another.
The second one after secure area.
You're going to close the area off to preserve your evidence. All the stuff we did yesterday. Separate out the witnesses and interview the witnesses as soon as possible before their memories become vague.
Recollections may vary.
They do indeed. Take photographs of the scene. Check CCTV. You can put in all your answers, take photographs so you've got something that's there as a permanent record. Check the CCTV to see what was actually going on, and you can actually, as I did with that one yesterday, you can then actually check it against what your witnesses said to see if there's anything strange going on. We're going to go on to some documentation as well. We're going to review risk assessments. Checking to see if they're up to date, if they're specific to the task. We're going to review the training records to see who was competent. We're going to look at the contract of induction to see what that said. We know it was out of date, but we didn't have time to redo it. we're going to review the young person's risk assessments.
That's separate, I suppose, review our rates.
So those are general risk assessments, these are specific risk assessments. Particularly around it was the young person who rushed across, wasn't it? They ran, didn't they? It's a young one. I think it's Amy or Bernard, yes, yeah. So you're going to review that young person's risk assessment. We're also going to review the company induction training. Because he ran, didn't he? What does, and I'm absolutely sure when you talk about safe movement around the workplace, it will be a case of don't run. We might take noise measurements. Because the worker, the contractor didn't hear him. We're going to review the safe system of work on the robotic arm, or see if there is one. And this is a new robotic arm. And see if there is one, or if it still relates to the old one. You're going to review the training on the new robotic arms.
Quarantine the equipment.
You would do in with the close the area off.
Review signage.
Yes, you would review the signage. Yes, you will also review the manufacturer's information around the robotic arms.
Security arrangements or access arrangements.
Access arrangements to the area. We know an incident has happened before, so you would actually review those incidents or investigation reports. Let me just have a look at what the question says, that we haven't missed anything or have gone off track. Sorry,
Access arrangements.
the access arrangements, yes,
No, the previous accident.
yes, you
It
would.
was the guy
The
that.
investigation.
One, was it?
It's
Not the one,
registered
not the one.
act.
Yeah, you would review all the accidents anyway to see if something has contributed towards this. What action should be taken to collect evidence for the production line accident investigation? So you're only looking at what you would use in your evidence before you did your analysis. What documents would you use? Who would you interview? What observations would you do?
Would you interview the previous health and safety supervisors for the director?
I'm not sure. Only potentially, if they were there. It's got 14 marks. I've got 17 or 18 down for this. And it's all about this information you would gather together and then do your analysis. Your analysis of this will come up with immediate underlying or root causes. For 6 marks, what are the immediate causes of the production line accident? It's worth 6 marks. Your answer should be based on the scenario only. Now, when I originally did this one, my immediate causes are slightly different from what they've got here in the book. So let's go and have a look in the book and see what it says, because this is what we are going to be using. What immediate causes? Does it say anything? About immediate causes. So root causes, it's on the immediate causes appears on page 417. So this one was about, they give you, an example of, forklift truck for this one. So the immediate causes. I think I've got a few of these ones. For example, failure to secure the load on the pallet, poor road positioning of the truck close to the pedestrian exit, aggressive braking by the truck driver, and inattentive pedestrians stepping out in front of the truck. So those are unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, but things that happened there and then at that moment in time. So if we go back to this particular scenario, and we look at some unsafe acts and unsafe conditions, which were 6 marks. First of all, it's noisy. So maybe the contractor didn't hear him shout. 2, the floor was wet. Because the water had been dripped in from the outside, that's why he slipped.
Would you
So yeah,
put the signage first, because it's not. It's not
To
signage.
the door, isn't it? Or off the
Secure
door.
area.
what did the sign say?
Secure area.
Secure
area for personnel.
Absolutely, yes. Does it matter in which way round you actually do it? So that makes a difference if the sign fallen off and the door fallen off to say that the area was secure, that the contractor shouldn't have been in there. The worker was running. Which probably contributed to him on the wet floor. The robotic arm was in the walkway. Because robotic arms are too big. Do you remember the new robotic arms are too big? They actually go into the walkway. That's why the people have to walk off the designated pedestrian routes to actually go on there. It's further back than that. It's to do with the previous one, Martin. About the swore from what have you when you read it. Somebody was taking photos that shouldn't have been taking photos. He had to be there, there wouldn't have been the issue. For mine, there was no visible wet floor sign. And the young worker was keen. He'd seen something that he knew shouldn't have happened, and so he immediately reacted to try and stop it.
Is that a bad thing? Being keen?
No, it isn't, but the knock-on effects from that was, he was running, he shouted at him, he was running. Generally, in these situations, if you see something that shouldn't happen, what should you do? Report it. Report it. And the team leader should actually deal with it.
Risk perception in the other man.
Yeah, potentially. But if we're looking at the immediate causes, it's what happened there and then at that moment in time. There might be some more. We're looking for 6. Maybe more.
Say the contract was on mobile phone.
Yes.
Yeah, you should back it.
Look at task 5. And I'm not even going to do it. What are the negative indicators of health and safety culture at the car manufacturing organisation? You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. Do we need to do that question?
No.
We did it. Now, some of the indicators will be different, but please remember, only stick to the negative ones. for that one. We did the contractor induction. We didn't do task 7, what individual human factors could have influenced the behaviour of those involved in the production line accident with 7 marks. Individual human factors. Now we did it on the cinema, individual and job factors. Individuals, and they haven't limited it to the injured worker. They've said to those involved on the production line incident. And you could specify the contractor or the young worker in one of these individual factors. Perhaps if he was unable to hear, maybe he was deaf. We don't know, he's a contractor, just because he's deaf doesn't mean he can't work, or could potentially be hard of hearing. Maybe there were language issues, that he actually didn't understand him because he didn't speak the same language. Or other than could have been under the influence of drugs, prescription, recreational, or alcohol that actually influenced either the young worker going to tell him off or the contract worker who shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Nosy.
Sorry?
Nosy.
Yeah,
Attitude.
it is, yeah, nosy. Yeah, I like that word as well, curious. I mean, it's curious personality or a personality that likes to buck the system. Being told don't, so you do. They could have been tired. They could have been tired, fatigued, stressed, distracted. There could have been peer pressure from both sides, from the contractors, peers to say, do you know what? Just go and take some photos, we're curious. I need one of you just go and do it. So peer pressure to do something.
Attitude of the apprentice, who can do, will do.
Yes.
Get stuck in.
So I've got that one down to the apprentice is keen to follow the rules, it's the same thing. Daryl, did you have something? Oh, I thought, okay, maybe stretch your arm. Maybe they were bored. Maybe the contractor was bored because they hadn't started the work yet and was just looking around and thinking, oh, this looks interesting, curious. I'm just going to take some photos. Looks great. Potentially he was a risk taker. And a young worker, lack of competence.
Contractor had to listen to his induction properly. Wasn't paying attention, wasn't engaged.
Yeah, yes, so he actually had forgotten or didn't know that he shouldn't be in that area because the sign had gone. Or as we say, poor induction. Poor induction, no, I say poor induction, it is.
That didn't take it on board or.
Yes, so that he didn't listen in the induction, especially if it's just somebody talking like this, don't go into that area where your PPE it's got out. Yeah, you're gonna fall asleep, aren't you?
It also been the contract was wearing his jacket, which was dripping, so his PPE. Contrary, because he wasn't aware, should we say, there was something wearing hazard.
Is it an individual factor? Is that an individual human factor? Potentially could that be like a job factor?
I don't know, it's only individual risk protection, they may have, they may be required to wear PPE. It's ability to do with the ability to detect the hazard creating moves. So if he's working outside, he's had to wear his jacket.
I have a quick look.
10%.
Sure. Birds.
Yeah, insurance answers. I do like insurance answers. Right, let's have a quick look. We're talking about this is individual human factors.
3 trillion.
So suffering from an illness, suffering under stress,
Second one, I think.
they may be required to wear PPE that is interfering with their ability to detect hazards creating the risk. I think it's too much of a stretch. I think it's generally that they're wearing, say, for example, eye protection and it gets fogged up. Or the PPE is too tight, too loose, and gets pulled up in the machinery. I think that's a little bit of a squeeze.
You mentioned that actually, he knew that he's supposed to be around movies in that area and just chose not to for its own personal protection and not follow the rules.
Did that contribute towards the accident?
Let's see.
Was he wearing PPE?
Shows
That's
that,
contract was.
Yeah, the contract says it was drifted on the floor.
Yeah.
which he was not aware of his own risks.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, yeah. Possibly. We've done task 8, administrative controls, have we not? Can we do this one? Excellent. How perfect is my timing? It's 25 to 1, it's lunch time. I'm gonna put the recording on pause. And then I'm gonna hand out another one we have to wait. We're gonna go quick and minutes. How long would you like for lunch? You start.
Yeah.
It is 25 to 1, should we do till 1 o'clock? Yes, 10 past 1, 1 o'clock, 10 past 1, what do you want?
10 past would be good, I've got to go to the village and get some food.
Okay, 10 past 1,
That's okay.
yeah.
Right, the traffic lights are still down.
No, the fine door.
Right,
Fine. Great,
back quick.
brilliant. Thank you. Sorry.
If I remember, if I remember today, not 4.
Scrap your lunch, remember cake.
Yeah, cut.
You're lucky there's a table.
I am going to put this out on my YouTube channel. It's ideal because the background is, there's nothing of anything you can really see. And I should have written notes. Okay, has everybody got one? We will read it together. Feel like I'm in school, don't I? Are you sitting comfortably? Yeah, you're too old to, I'm not old enough to remember that. So this one, I marked it as the actual warehouse. So, the warehouse. You are a newly hired warehouse worker for a distribution organisation, Miller Oslo. That's all you are, you're a worker. You work in one of their small warehouses with 14 other workers, including the warehouse manager and 2 supervisors. Goods weighing up to 1,000 kilos are stored in sealed crates and stacked on pallets and are then stretch wrapped. These are then stored on racking until requirement for shipping by distribution vehicles. Excuse me. There are 2 loading bays at the back of the warehouse with floor ramps allowing goods to be loaded onto vehicles by forklift trucks. There is a small kitchen, rest area, toilets for workers and 2 side offices. The larger office is the warehouse managers. Entrance to the warehouse is by ID card access. There is an intercom system to ring for non-card holders. Visitors who are expected will be escorted while inside the building, and unexpected visitors are denied entrance. On your first day of employment, the supervisor on duty gives you a quick tour of the building to start your induction. They then make sure that you know where the fire exits are before rushing you into the smaller office. Inside, you are seated in front of an old television. Next to the TV is a collection of VHS video cassettes labelled Induction Part 1, Part 2 Fire Safety, Part 3 Manual Handling, and Part 4 What to Do in an Emergency. The supervisor leaves you alone while you watch the videos. The videos appear to apply to all of Miller Oslo's warehouses. You learn from What to Do in an Emergency video that the first aid box is in reception. You think back to the tour of the building and you do not remember seeing a reception area or a first aid box. You learn that personal pages should be turned off during working hours and that all accidents or near misses should be reported to your health and safety officer. The video happily states that the health and safety officer will teach you everything you need to know about health and safety after the induction ends and your specific warehouses, health and safety policies and procedures. The supervisor returns 4 hours later when you finished watching the videos. They have a box of high visibility vests, hard hats and gloves that you sort through to find your closest size. With the induction training complete, they give you an ID card and then take you back into the warehouse for your job training. You cannot see any painted traffic lines on the ground separating the pedestrian path and the forklift trucks as shown in the videos. So you ask the supervisor if the videos were incorrect. Excuse me. They tell you the lines have needed repainting for a long time. You ask who the health and safety officer is and know that the warehouse has been trying to hire someone for that position for years. Over the next week, you are taught your job tasks by the other workers and become friendly with them. They teach you a few methods to save time, but they are not sure if these methods are causing overloading of the racking closest to the loading bay. Later that day, you hear the warehouse manager shouting at a forklift truck driver for taking too long to load an order onto a delivery vehicle. The warehouse manager gives the forklift driver an immediate verbal warning about causing delays. You overhear the workshop manager muttering that they will not let their reputation of keeping the warehouse ahead of schedule be ruined. The workers nearby whisper, avoid the warehouse manager because they only come out of the office when they are angry. They also mention that the driver has not even been given time off to complete their forklift truck training. The crash. Later that day, as you pass a loading bay, you see a forklift truck speeding around the corner towards you. The driver notices you, panics, and desperately tries to change direction. The driver is the one who was shouted at earlier. You jump back onto the loading bay ramp to avoid the forklift truck. You slip and twist your ankle. You fall to the ground screaming and your ankle swells painfully. The driver swerves the forklift truck away from the ramp, but the vehicle begins to tilt. They try to recover the situation, but within seconds, the forklift truck topples sideways into the nearby racking. The racking collapses, and an avalanche of metal and pallets buries the driver. A week later, after the warehouse is reopened, the workers call a meeting. You are on sick leave for your injured ankle, but decide to attend. When you arrive, you hear shouting from the smaller office. The shouting does not stop as you enter, and you see all of the workers are there except the forklift truck driver. Several people are having a loud argument with the warehouse manager. Warehouse manager notices you sitting down and resting your leg in an ankle brace on the chair. They sneer and point out that this meeting cannot be so important if the forklift truck driver cannot be bothered to show up. The room goes silent. Everyone is horrified by the warehouse manager's comments. One of the workers informs the warehouse manager the forklift truck driver is in hospital. As a result of the accident, they are in a coma and have a crushed skill. The warehouse manager finally stops arguing. Your colleagues demand change. This was the worst accident so far and cannot be ignored this time. Eventually, the warehouse manager reveals that Miller Oslo are hiring a health and safety consultant to make recommendations for improvements. The warehouse manager then starts arguing again, blaming the forklift truck driver entirely for the accident. They claim this meeting is an excuse for everyone not to work, and they will never allow a worker-demanded meeting again. The health and safety consultant. The health and safety consultant arrives 2 days later. They spend the first day talking to the warehouse manager and looking through the paperwork. The next day, the health and safety consultant gathers the workers and supervisors together, deliberately excluding the warehouse manager. They introduce themselves and then explain that they will speak to everyone as a group to better understand the warehouse and workforce. They will speak to everyone individually, but assure them that their conversations will be confidential. The two supervisors welcome the health and safety consultant because management might finally listen. Everyone had been complaining about time pressure and safety concern for months. They were ignored, so they stopped trying to talk to the warehouse manager about it. One of the supervisors says that they're meant to be taking an EBOSH qualification on behalf of the warehouse, but they've repeatedly been refused time off to study. Another worker furiously recalls that the traffic route lines were meant to be repainted yearly, but the warehouse manager always cancelled it because the work would cause delays. Exactly, is that it?
Yeah, it's such a
We don't stand reselling them on courses and
This all takes 5 million.
I think the information moving on somewhere else.
okay. Task 1. Understanding the moral management of health and safety in the workplace. 15 remarks. Health and safety should be managed for moral, financial, and legal reasons. What is unacceptable about the moral management of health and safety in the warehouse? It's a horrible question. You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. Now, generally, every other paper has a question around comment on the morals of the company. Well, this one says, what is unacceptable about the moral management of health and safety in the warehouse? 15 marks. So when we look at moral reasons, it's about getting people home safely at the end of the day. It's about making sure that they can do their job safely without causing any injury or ill health. And making sure that their job, that they're not off work sick on statutory sick pay so that they can't afford to pay the rent, mortgage, gas, electricity, etc. And making sure that any injuries do not cause any issues outside home as well. So when you go back and have a look at moral reasons for managing health and safety, there are other ones there as well about you know, what is morally expected, what society morally expects. And I would go back and have a look. Now, I know not everything will apply to this in your books, and also there will be lots of other things because you need to use backup with this one. So it's not making a comment, it's saying what is unacceptable, and you can expand on it if you like. It just says what. Here are my, actually I've only got 15. See if we can find any more. Because you're just a worker. You are not It's a just the worker, you've got no health and safety responsibility at all. First of all, you are given a quick tour of the building, and then there is quick tour, so you're not given any time to familiarise yourself with the workplace. The induction is not suitable. There's no personal, nobody who you could ask questions to. And you're left with VHS tapes. No, I'm sorry, when was the last time you used a VHS tape?
Nineties.
Yeah, the 90s, possibly the 90s. So they're using very, very old technology with a very, very old machine. Does that tell you it could be out of date? So the information that they're given, you can infer from this, is possibly out of date anyway. So you're not given the right information. The induction is generic. It is being produced for all, are there 14? Is there 14? All, no, all of the warehouses. But as we know, you know, they're all in different locations, different places have different issues, different people working with them. It's generic. So what applies to one might not apply to the other. And later on, as you can see, it is. He's left alone for 4 hours. Nobody comes to check on him. Nobody sees if he's okay. 4 hours is a long time to sit without going to the toilet, isn't it? Was he shown where the welfare facilities were?
No, I don't think so.
There he was, rest area, toilets for workers and two side officers. You know, to leave somebody alone for 4 hours.
We might not be able to find his way back.
Anyway, you know, when I come here on site, I'm so glad I have to be escorted. So I would never find my way in and I'd never find my way out. But what happened when I only went there to try and find my way into Shrewsbury the other night? I had to do a 6-mile detour because I didn't know where I was going. And actually sat there. Right. So he's left alone for 4 hours. Nobody comes and checks on him to make sure that he's okay, or if he's got if he needs any help. These are all moral issues. It's unacceptable. Let's go a little bit further. I'll come back to the because I've just done it. The PPE, the personal protective equipment, is not new. Personal protective equipment should be individually. He has to fish through the box to see what is the closest to his size.
So it doesn't actually fit in either.
It doesn't actually fit him, and actually we don't know if it's new or not. It doesn't say. So it might not be, you know, it might not be personal. So it's not right. It doesn't fit him. There is no health and safety officer. They know they need one.
They haven't been able to recruit for years.
They haven't been trying to hire someone for that position for years. What can you infer from that? Because you can infer nobody wants to work there.
It's not a priority to them.
Hire somebody. Possibly it isn't a priority, but they've been trying to hire somebody for years. Maybe the condition of the workplace is not conducive to getting people who are motivated about health and safety. They look at that place and think, this is going to be far too much hard work for the amount of money they're going to pay me. So there's no health and safety officer, and they're having great difficulty in recruiting them. The warehouse manager shouts at the forklift truck driver. This is not acceptable behaviour. If you have an issue with somebody, It is, you do not publicly discipline them. You would take them somewhere else and have the discussion. And the one thing you do not do is shout. Back with my son at the auditorium, he was waiting for me to have that verbal fight. It was never going to happen at work, ever. He was never going to be satisfied or by that. You don't shout at people at work. It's morally unacceptable. You treat people with respect. The forklift truck driver is expected to drive the forklift truck without the proper training. So you're putting him at risk of having an accident and the consequences, and everybody else who will be working there, because he's not trained. No accident investigation takes place. You know they've happened previously because they say this is the worst accident so far and cannot be ignored this time. So from that you can infer that no accident investigation takes place. So therefore nothing is done to prevent accidents from occurring. There are no safe traffic routes, so where the pedestrians can walk and where the vehicles can go. They have been there, they were painted, but the warehouse manager stops them from being repainted because he says it will
delay.
It will delay. So he's more interested in making profit, meeting his deadlines, getting production out, than keeping people safe. He blames the forklift truck driver for the accident. This is not good practice. If he'd done an investigation, he would understand why there was an accident in the first place, but he doesn't care. This is all moral things. He only cares about himself.
Didn't go to hospital.
He didn't know he was in hospital. The warehouse manager sneers at you. They sneer and point out, warehouse manager notices you sitting down and resting your leg. They sneer and point out that this meeting cannot be so important, etc., etc. So it's the fact, it doesn't actually sneer at you, the fact that the warehouse manager is sneering at people, he's making fun of them, he's making a mockery of them. This is, you know, it's morally unacceptable. Even though the forklift truck driver wasn't there, he's exerting his influence as a manager to discredit other workers. There is no proper consultation that goes on. Because the warehouse manager, he, him, her, they, whoever it is, they're not interested in the workforce's opinions. They do not care what they have to say. The consultation that takes place is done under duress. They claim that this meeting is an excuse for everyone not to work, and they will never allow a worker demanded meeting again. So he has conducted the meeting under duress. So lack of proper consultation. The warehouse manager is unaware of the forklift truck driver's injuries. He has not bothered to find out how he is. He's a man down or a person down, he knows he's gone off to hospital, he hasn't taken the effort to phone and find out. The warehouse manager runs the warehouse using fear. Because they say, they whisper, avoid the warehouse manager because they only come out of their office when they are angry. Now, there are other things that you could use in here as well. So those are the 15 that I actually have. Are there 15? Have I missed one? 15? There are potentially, if you look through, there might be, you can have a couple more insurance answers around what's actually going on, usually around the warehouse manager. This is why you've got to read the scenario 3 times to see what you've missed and what you can actually add in when you actually do it.
What about the office? Give himself the bigger office, even though he's expecting everyone to, all of the rest of the workers to carry out like induction and staff meetings in the smaller office. So he's got a higher opinion of himself than the rest of the workforce.
I think he has got a higher opinion, but you've got to be realistic. You know, who generally has the bigger office?
Well, if it's the main meeting, then the main
This is James.
Yeah, this is no way, this is mine. Sometimes.
You potentially could. You know, it might be that the warehouse manager has a high opinion of himself. He takes the bigger office, even though he's only one person, and all the others are expected to crowd to a smaller office. You could, I don't see that being an issue. But you obviously won't lose any marks. Anything else with this one? It's moral management, understanding as well. If you've got a question around knowledge, you will just have to relate it to these factors. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Question 2 on this paper is what? Determine what is effective about the induction training. Based on the scenario only, what is effective about the induction training at the warehouse? 8 marks. So we've got to find 8 good things. Okay. My first comment, honestly, I've got 9, is very little. That's what I put down. And actually, if you want to put it down, then asking this, there is very little that is effective about it, but, okay, that's why I've got 9. I do like to give my comments.
At least they have.
Exactly, it is in place. They do have an induction process that is in place. So the new worker comes in, and the first thing he does is induction. They've allocated time for the induction to watch the videos, 4 hours. They've left him alone. They haven't come back in and said to him, hurry up, you can finish them later. So they've allocated time to watch the videos. The videos cover the essentials of an induction, including, it says, fire and manual handling and emergency response, which all induction should cover anyway. So they've got the basics in place. He is given a tour. A tour takes place. He's shown around the place. He's told where the toilets are, where the welfare facilities, the canteen. He's told, it's shown where the biggest office is for the warehouse manager.
Could that be separate? Could you get 2 points for that? If you say he's given a tour and then he knows where he's shown where the welfare facilities are.
Then you'd have to have 10 points if you had very little as well. Yeah. It says, what is effective? I don't know, put it in. If it's there and they want to give you a mark for it, it's fine. I would definitely mention it that actually he's shown where the welfare facility is. He's given a tour around the place. My next one is, you actually given PPE before starting work. It might not be suitable, but they have got PPE in place.
No, wrong way round. We used to be given PPE before they did a tour of the warehouse. Yeah.
So did you two drive together?
No,
One of us would be dead.
mine wouldn't be it.
Right, okay. You distracted me, okay. You're given an ID card. So you can access the place and everybody knows who you are. You are shown where the fire exits are. Now, the emergency stuff is done by the videos. It is a generic one, but you're actually shown where the fire exits are, besides the other welfare stuff, you know where they are. And I struggled for the last one, to be honest with you. And I put in, you're given basic training on your job by the other workers. Whether or not you class it as induction, I don't know.
They were used on shortcuts though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we're looking for good things. Talk about the bad things in this question, but we're looking for
It's
good
negative.
things, yeah? This is a good question, if you can find them.
And then possibly highlighted as risk category like well, isn't it? With good shots, probably not being very well loaded.
They do, but it's in induction, you know, I'm showing them shortcuts, they know that shortcuts are gonna cause a problem. I've just put down there, you're given basic training on your job by other workers.
Sorry,
Probably said something. Cool.
I was going to say that they're friendly, because doesn't that make it a bit more easy to them to absorb and feel?
Yeah, but does it answer the question? Does it answer the question? What is effective about the induction training at the warehouse?
Talking about basic training and they're being friendly as they're giving it to you, you're more likely to, your attitude towards it is more, can be more positive.
Yeah, along the same lines, I was thinking that he's given the opportunity to ask questions from the supervisors, and he's asking quite a few questions. He's asking where the health and safety person, he's asking why the lines aren't painted, and etc.
I think it was whilst the VHS was being played for 4 hours, he wasn't able to ask any questions.
Wasn't
They
it?
left him to his own device.
They are expecting the health and safety to give answers if needs to. If they have.
Yeah, but they don't have a, absolutely, yeah.
What did you-
Happy put this one is that, that he can ask questions even though he's got to wait for the supervisor, to come back, and they are answered.
I was going to say, it gives you some kinds of organisational structure as they telling you positions within the company, the health and safety officer and stuff like that. You do go down that far as that?
Put it in, absolutely put it in. I'm not sure, you'll get it, but, you know, as long as you've got all the other stuff in as well. Questions can be asked and they're answered, even if you don't like the answer. And the roles and responsibilities have been, they're verbally, aren't they? Verbally informed. Not given a health and safety policy and a organisational chart and that kind of thing. Are we okay with that? Task 3, demonstrating management commitment. Management commitment is an important part of health and safety culture. How effectively did the warehouse manager demonstrate commitments for 17 months?
Does it mention good things we can?
No, no, I would split them up. There are some positives. But it asks you, how effectively did he demonstrate commitment? So some things he did, loads of things he didn't.
No.
Right,
So we got that, but we got
well,
that.
so, right, so let's sort some of these ones out. Some of them are actually similar to some of the ones. So he allows induction to take place. Doesn't expect the worker to go straight in and work. And the same thing, he allows for a tour before work starts. There is PPE and it's issued even if it's not suitable. And there is control by issuing ID cards. I think I found loads of good things actually. They have a system in place where visitors are escorted. So that they are kept safe. Probably he does it from a security point of view so they don't nick the product. But we're going to use it as a health and safety point of view, so that they're kept safe and that non-expected visitors are denied access so that they can't physically get in and the activities won't injure them. Whether he likes it or not, he closes the warehouse after the incident because it says a week later, when the warehouse opens, has reopened. So therefore, you know that it actually does close the warehouse after the incident. He's probably been forced to do so, but he still does it. Job training does take place. Is it?
Yeah.
Even if it is on the job training.
Because the fourth truck driver didn't get training.
He didn't finish his training.
Right.
Yeah, didn't finish. But on the job training, job training does take place even if it's done by colleagues. They're not just thrown in and told to get on and do it. And the 10th point there is a forklift truck driver has actually started his training, even if he hasn't finished. Negatives.
What is more positive? Is it policy in favour for turning pages?
Oh,
Pages.
yes,
An application thing, is it not?
What's a page?
Yeah, exactly, with the BlackBerry.
for turning off pages.
Could you put that he also does consult with the workforce?
He does, but he's forced to do so, isn't he?
He's not willingly, but he's still consulting with the workforce. That's like saying he gives out PPE. It's shocking, but he gives it out to them.
And he's actively trying to hire people.
I've got here, he hires a consultant eventually. He does hire a consultant. The workshop manager. Eventually the workshop manager reveals that Miller Oslo are hiring a health and safety consultant to make recommendations for improvements. So maybe we can't.
Yeah, because it wasn't him, was it?
No, it wasn't him, but is it him?
Can you infer that he had referred it up, which was then prompted them?
It says management commitment is an important part of health and safety. How effectively did the warehouse manager demonstrate commitment? So maybe it's
Still passing that information on, isn't it?
he is, yes.
He's actually been trying to hire. He's actually right with him. He's down to the south there, so
You can try it down there. You can, they're actively, are they actively looking?
He said he's trying for years, he said they're trying to hire.
Okay, so pop that one down as well. So they're actively looking for a health and safety advisor. So,
Where is it now?
there it is there. Yeah.
So we need to hire one.
Negatives. Induction's generic, he hasn't updated it, hasn't made it specific to that particular warehouse.
Sorry, why missed that with 5 minutes?
The induction is generic, it hasn't been updated or made specific for the warehouse, so it's not relevant. Shows that, and he doesn't care. He has an attitude of profit over safety. He says he doesn't care how they get it done, but he will not let their reputation of keeping the warehouse ahead of schedule be ruined. And the words we use for this is that he's more concerned with profit over safety. The line painting for the designated traffic routes. Let me see whether it's down here. Yes, the warehouse manager cancels it every year because it would cause delays. Now, I'm not sure whether you get that as an extra or not. There was no time allocation for line painting due to the delays that the warehouse manager believes it will cause. There's no consultation that goes on. Yeah. There's no training that happens.
You said they do have training, didn't you?
So you've got both sides of this one. You've got the forklift truck driver has started his training, and induction takes place. But there's no proper training for anybody. So you've got the positives that we're trying to squeeze out, and the negatives. So no training, proper training takes place. Because don't forget, one of the guys is supposed to do his NEBOSH general certificate. And you won't allow him to do so, won't give him the time off. So no formal training takes place. Would that be a better word, formal training? Yeah, formal, and mention it, such as the NEBOSH that one of the guys wants to do. He doesn't take any accountability for what goes wrong. He just blames the workers. He sits in the office. He's never seen on the shop floor. He's cross, unless he's cross. And he's unapproachable, isn't he? People are scared of him.
Sounds like my mom.
And once again with the investigations, he doesn't allow accident investigation to take place because they take time, and for him, time is money, and he cannot see the benefits. Are there any others we can find that you think would work? You see, I'm consulting with you. Remember, I have to consult with the workforce, but I don't have to.
Just tick box, he's got a tick box attitude. Was that too big?
I don't think he has got a tick box attitude. I don't think he has a poor attitude.
Well, because he's got induction in place, he's got let's give the PPE and stuff like that. So you could argue that he knows he should be doing them things.
Is he doing the bare minimum?
That's
Trying to say.
fair.
He did nothing with the induction because it's like 15 years out of date. The PPE is just bits that you've scrapped together from who knows where. And as we all, I don't know if you do know, but PPE has an expiry date. So, yeah, who knows what was actually in that box?
There you go.
So demonstrating management commitment, he does none of that whatsoever. And what little bit he does grudgingly, he doesn't. Because he knows he's got no choice. It was your feet. I've got mine in my pocket and keep the lemon.
I don't think having rats. Same.
What happened?
Well, you never know. These are very old buildings.
We got
Squirrels in the attic.
Rats.
Rats in your pocket. That's your arrow
Well done.
Task 4.
I need some more paper. Stay away.
The other half, it just really killing everything.
Thank you.
Task 4. Actions to fulfill health and safety management roles and responsibilities. What actions could the warehouse manager take to fulfill their role and responsibilities more effectively? Note, you should not focus on roles and you should focus on roles and responsibilities and not the health and safety management system or legal duties. And you should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. It's worth 16 marks. But you know, it's got that word in there that's crucial in the question. What actions could the warehouse manager take to fulfill their role and responsibilities more effectively? It's worth 16 marks. I should put that 20 in this one. First thing that he could do, if he would have the right mindset, and obviously if he wanted to, is he could attend an IOSH leadership training course to understand what his accountabilities and responsibilities are. Because at the moment he's got no idea. He could consult with the head office, i.e., which is one called Miller Oslo. He could consult with the head office of Miller and Oslo to ask for their policies so that they can be implemented through his warehouse.
Not ask for them to come down.
He could do. I've got down here, he could ask for a mentor. Somebody from the office that can come and mentor him, somebody who he can ask questions from, that he knows he can get the correct advice. Because he is in charge of the actual warehouse. There's a group of warehouses. Would you get together with all of the warehouse managers and run organise a group meeting to discuss general problems and solutions, because that's where you get them from. Could he consult with the workforce? He could consult with the workforce. He could set up a health and safety committee. He doesn't have to wait for them to ask for one, but if they did, he's still got to set one up. But he could set one up to start off with as part and parcel of the consultation. He could set up training plans, training schedules. He can ensure that risk assessments are completed. Mention anything about risk assessment?
No.
No, because the guys are doing shortcuts. So he could ensure risk assessments are completed and communicated. Remember, these things need to be communicated. He could write or organise somebody to write the safe systems of work to make sure they are written, documented, consulted and communicated to the workforce, so they don't have to guess how work is to be done or take shortcuts that they know are probably not right. He could set up a near-miss investigation procedure. He could investigate incidents and produce an action plan. And provide the resources to plan time for the forklift truck driver to complete their training.
So that all training. So that all training because it's an option as well. Isn't it?
I've got that one down as a separate point actually, yeah. So we're going to set up the training plans for the workers so that they know how to do their job safely, you know, the general workers. And then you've got your forklift truck driver. So I have got that one down, it's the very last one. Send the supervisors on an EBOSH course. You know, they've identified they want to go, it would be particularly beneficial, and that would help him in his responsibilities as well. Review the induction videos and updates. You could also say review the whole induction process to make it more personal, interactive.
Office, floor.
You could. Let's and those ones on. He could allow time to paint the walkways and the traffic routes and ensure that this is done on an annual basis and that production is worked around this. You could organise for the racking inspection company to come in to inspect the racking, put the safe working loads on, and to conduct training as to how to inspect the racking and set up the racking inspection.
Well, the management course.
Oh, what a good one.
Personal
Put it
training.
in. Yeah.
Management training, possible.
So I tell you, the Irish leadership course is generally what we tend to, but anger management. If he was in Birmingham, he would meet my son-in-law, my 6'4" son-in-law. But one of the contracts that he got, and he writes the course, is that he runs the anger management courses for the courts. So you know, if you go to court due to anger management issues at work, at home, abuse, etc., and they say to you, you've got to attend an anger management course, and you've got to attend this one. He runs it on a Saturday, so we could send him to meet that. that loves it because he's got power, because they've got to pass. And he's the one that passes them, and it's all about interaction. So if they arrive late, they're in big trouble. If they don't interact, they don't pass, so then they've got to come back again. And they've got to pay for the privilege.
So I'm doing the speeding awareness course.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, send him on an anger management course. Yeah, put it in, makes no difference. It will be fine, you won't need to do some up. Because he is angry, he does not know how to deal with people on a management course. Put in place a reporting procedure. And I also put in place a system to deal with it and to give feedback.
You should put monitoring for that, or would you have to go into that much depth?
Monitoring what?
Monitoring procedure.
This isn't monitoring, this is a reporting procedure. A monitoring one is all about doing inspections. Not quite, yeah. So that people can report the near misses. Purchase suitable and sufficient PPE that fits and is in date and is suitable for the task. Actively recruit for an internal health and safety officer. And then send supervisors on the new bush course. I've got some other things here as well. Set up recognition. Now it's always shouting when they're doing something wrong. So why don't you set up recognition for meeting targets? I'm talking about health and safety targets, not production targets. Yes. And then monitor them. Would you do performance review? Yes, but you might get it under performance review. I'm just going to put it down, continuous improvement program. Do you see why you should print things out? Because many times you've got a question or save them as a PDF, because if you're going through and highlighting all the relevant things, a lot of things get highlighted more than once. Are we done with task 4? Can we do task 5? Okay, we'll try to get to it. Question: determining the contribution of organisation and individual human factors for 9 marks, 5A. What organisational factors could have contributed to the accident? So you go back to your books for organisational factors. Let's have a look. See what applies. So you've got culture, commitment, leadership, resources, work patterns, communications, levels of supervision, consultation and training. This is a happy question. So the question says, what organisational factors could have contributed to the accident? So we're looking for negative things. We're not looking for what should be in place. This is a negative question. So, organisational factors, one is poor culture. The shared values and beliefs are shared by everybody. Poor leadership by the warehouse manager.
Would you specify safety leadership, or just leadership in general?
You could specify if you wanted, but you get leadership, safety leadership, because he doesn't care. Lack of leadership commitment, whether you've got that is poor leadership, lack of leadership commitment, potentially you might get an AA with that one. Yes, Darren.
Behaviours,
Um,
poor behaviours.
So the behaviours is in the culture, shared values, and beliefs, the organisational one. So we've got lack of resources, there isn't enough time for them to complete the course. No money is given out.
You put something down about the whole organisation, but from a higher leadership, because it's been years and no one's come down to even inspect their warehouse.
Yeah, nobody's done anything, yeah? So organisational factors. Yes, so no resources.
Would it be AA because you already mentioned in the workshop manager?
I would definitely put it, it's not just the workshop manager, the warehouse manager, they haven't limited you to that. They've actually said, what organisational factors could have contributed to the accident from the main company as well, from Miller Oslo or whoever it is. Lack of communication. Where does he sit? You know, there's no communication that actually goes on. There doesn't seem to be or poor communication that goes on. There's no correct information. Lack of consultation. Poor levels of supervision. The guys are left to do what they think is best. Lack of proper training. What health and safety training is always in front of training. There's no competent health and safety advice because they haven't been able to manage to recruit a health and safety officer. So who's giving them advice? Nobody. I'm back down to the generic induction again as well, because it's not suitable, it's all part and parcel of the training.
PPE provision. Or PPE provision.
Yeah, is that a? I would. Is it an organisational factor? I think it is.
Resources.
It's resources, isn't it? Yeah, so it's poor equipment. Yeah, so no PPE or the incorrect PPE. I mean, they have bought it or given it, but it's not right. 10 marks were individual human factors of workers could have contributed to the accidents. Lack of training or lack of competence. Lack of knowledge. Lack of risk perception. Says could have. The workers are risk takers, aren't they? Because it takes the shortcuts. I mean, and what are they dealing with? They're dealing with 1,000 kilos, that's a ton, a metric ton, at a time that they are taking risks with, they're risk takers. The weakest can't stand up